Hello, I'm Eric from Bosch and I'd like to show you the GIS 1000C infrared scanner. The 1000 in the model code means that it's capable of reading surface temperatures up to 1000 degrees, and the C suggests that it's connectable via Bluetooth to a free to download app, which enables you to basically share information accompanied by a photograph, because it has a colour camera built in, and perhaps add it to a survey of someone's home with regard to insulation problems, thermal bridge, damp problems, etc. So it's a survey tool really. It's powered by 4 AA batteries sitting in this little battery compartment at the bottom, and it's powered on with a little red button on the right hand side. So all the time you're using it, you'll see in the picture, apart from information about mode and results, you'll see a colour picture of what you're actually pointing it at. So there's a little colour TV camera in there, and as I say, you can save these pictures with the information overlaid over the photograph, so that that adds sort of reality to any sort of survey information you might be compiling for a customer site. So the 3 basic modes really are surface temperature, which is to do with the infrared side of things, and dew point, and also thermal bridge. I'll just go through those modes. When we talk about surface temperature, of course the simplest thing to do would be to just point the unit at a wall, and if we just go over to the white wall there, you can see that 2 laser dots appear on the wall. I'll just do that again, and the space between those 2 dots is actually the test area. So the lasers aren't really measuring anything, they're just showing you which area of surface you are measuring. The further away you go, of course, the greater the distance between the dots, but of course the accuracy suffers as well, so it's best to use it maybe 3 to 5 meters from the surface, or closer if it's practical. So if you were checking, for example, a radiator to see if there's any cold spots on a radiator, this is a really easy way to do that. But also you can tell whether the wall is cold in one particular place, and that could mean a thermal bridge. But just in the basic mode, and the modes are selectable on the keypad here, it's in surface temperature mode, and you can see that that particular wall is showing 20.1 degrees C. As far as sensing temperature is concerned, you have another option. On the top of the product is a little door, little rubber cap if you like. It has a USB connection there, so you can download data via a cable if you're not using the Bluetooth capability. But also below there's a connection for a standard industry standard K-type probe. This is not supplied with the product, and in fact Bosch don't make these probes, they're commercially available. The unit immediately recognises that and shows a separate reading on the screen, and this can then be put into duct work if you're working with air conditioning or heating, or below a floor to check cold spots where the infrared detector can't find it. So it's another way of sensing temperature. It's a K-type probe. So I'll just disconnect that and go on to the next mode, which is thermal bridge. And by thermal bridge, that means there may be something wrong with an existing structure whereby a cold air or cold temperature is being transmitted through a cavity wall because there's a build-up of rubble or some defect in the building, and of course this can lead to all sorts of problems like damp and mold and what have you. So with the thermal bridge, what happens is you take the surface temperature, and that's 20.5, and on the screen is also the ambient temperature. So the unit's checking the temperature around it, but then it's looking at the surface and it's comparing it. Now you may be able to see on the screen a little sort of traffic light stripy bar across the bottom there. If the temperature is very dissimilar, like the surface temperature is really low when the ambient temperature is really high, then the little arrow will run into the red section, and it will warn you that something's wrong. And this is something you can document, as I say, by saving that photograph with that information on it. For example, if I go onto this bottle which was in the fridge there and take that as our surface temperature, just as an example, so it's just an ordinary bottle of water but it's been in the fridge, I'll get the lasers to hit that, and we'll take a temperature reading. You can see it says 6.3 degrees C, and it's flashing here. You see there's a red box flashing around the ambient temperature saying, look, this is a huge difference, you've got a problem. and that would constitute a fairly serious thermal bridge if you had an area of your wall in your living room that was only 6 degrees when you were in a comfortable 22-degree ambient temperature. So that's thermal bridge. You can adjust the unit to cope with different types of material, because the rough cast brickwork doesn't emit infrared as well as a shiny surface. So you can actually adjust the so-called emissivity by just going into the menu and changing that if you want to be that detailed. But generally with something dramatic like that, it won't have a huge effect on the accuracy of the unit. And to the third mode, just quickly then, if we just go through them, we've got dew point. And this takes into account the relative humidity of the room. There's a sensor underneath the unit. You can just see it there exposed under the unit, so the air's flowing around it. This is where the relative humidity, the moisture in the air, is being measured. And again, if we simply take a measurement over on the wall, as we did before, we've now got 3 sets of information here. We've got the ambient temperature in the house of 22.1. Okay, we've got 11.4 degrees, which was the dew point. This is calculated by the unit. At 11.4 degrees, you're in trouble, basically. But the surface temperature we measured was only I say 20.2 degrees C. So we're well into the green zone here. There isn't a dew point issue. You're not likely to get damp in these circumstances. But let's say, for example, this bottle was our wall. It's an extreme, I know. But if we now measure with our lasers as before on the bottle, you can see again we've got a red line around the dew point symbol saying 14.4 is the dew point calculated, but the surface is 6.4, well below that. So if you happen to have a zone around a wall, a doorway, for example, or a window where you've got this huge difference between ambient temperature and an actual surface temperature, then that means that there is a very good possibility, I mean this is covered in condensation here, of condensation being produced, and of course if that's not kept in check, then of course the possibilities of mold growth, and you know, that's very problematic and unsightly. So really speaking, this is checking for general temperature measurements, which can be useful in their own right, but we'll check dew point problems and thermal bridge problems, which can be remedies, of course. And so generally a very versatile tool, but remember it talks with Bluetooth to the Bosch app, and that's free to download. So you can really be quite smart and professional in the way that you present these findings to maybe a customer that you're quoting for some remedial works on their property. So that's the Bosch GIS 1000C infrared scanner. And that's it.